Now we're on the presidential here.
When polling, do you also use focus groups then for that? Because then I think you can get some answers to the questions you just posed.
We absolutely try to use focus groups as much as possible. Focus groups are really helpful, especially when you don't know a lot about how people are thinking about a candidate or how they think about a particular issue, the language they use, the kind of how their core values inform their view of the issue. And so focus groups, you have 10 people sitting around a table and you just get people talking. It's not as structured as a survey. They're not cheap. A focus group can cost, of course, the way the dollar's doing, probably everything's going to sound cheap to you, but $7,500 per focus group. So if you want for 10 people, so if you want to do 4 focus groups, it's almost $30,000. So what you find is that a lot of our clients decide they can't afford focus groups, especially people running for Congress. We rarely do focus groups for people running for the House. When people are running for the Senate and spending $10 million, we do focus groups. But when people are running for the House and they're spending $1 million or $500,000, we tend not to do focus groups. Obviously, lots and lots of work at the presidential level using focus groups. The other thing that focus groups are useful for is helping you write your survey, because you may find there's some way they're thinking about an issue that you never knew. If you write the survey sort of based on how you understand information, that may not be the way average people are thinking about it. So focus groups are very useful, but again, they're not cheap, and so a lot of people choose not to do them. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was wondering what you think about this election. Who do you think is going to win?
I don't
Based
know.
on your knowledge.
I have no idea.
No?
I mean, seriously, I don't know who's going to. I think on the Republican side, I don't think I'm saying something that most people don't believe, but John McCain will win the nomination on the Republican side. I really do not know who's going to win the nomination on the Democratic side. And right now, if you ask, one of the things that's interesting is if you ask people who are they going to vote for, the Democrat or Republican, Democrats have a pretty substantial lead, 7 points or so. But if you ask by name, Hillary Clinton versus John McCain, Barack Obama versus John McCain, it's much closer.
Yeah.
So once the actual candidates are in place, it becomes a much more competitive race. And I don't think anybody right now, the overall mood of this country and the underlying measures around partisanship and direction of the country all favor a Democrat. But once you get the actual candidates, it becomes very close. So I honestly don't know who's going to win.
Don't know either which Democrat will make the best chance against the Republicans, or do you have an opinion about
I think that's a really hard question. I think it's hard to say. It's very difficult, given Hillary Clinton's numbers and how unfavorably she's viewed. It's hard. I mean, obviously she's got many more issues against John McCain. That being said, I do not think that we've truly seen Barack Obama being attacked in the way that he will be attacked. And race in this country is still a deep divider. People are very reluctant in this country to say that race inhibits them from wanting to vote for a black candidate. And so I don't believe the data right now accurately reflects the real challenges that Barack Obama has. That being said, so in my view, she has tremendous baggage, and he has tremendous potential baggage. And in some sense, it's probably a wash. They bring different issues to the table, but they both have issues. Given that, it's still pretty impressive to me that both candidates, given how favorably John McCain is viewed, he is right now very, very, very favorably viewed. In my view, hopefully will have lots of baggage too, but at the moment, people are very positive towards him, and the fact that both of these candidates do so well against him, I think, is very encouraging.
And Ms. Greenberg, do you have an explanation for the fact that the economic theme plays a minor role in the political debate at the moment?
Well, I actually don't think that's true.
Okay.
If you look at the polls in the last month or so, and you ask people what's the most important problem facing the United States, you now have economy and jobs as number one, and number two is the war in Iraq. So I actually think economic issues are becoming incredibly important to people. The majority of people, even though economists would say by objective measures we're not in a recession, most Americans think we're in a recession. And so I think actually that's very good for Democrats. When we have debates about economic issues, we usually win them. If you look at 2006, 2004, and 2002, all three of those elections were fought over security in Iraq, much tougher. Arguably, 2006 was a victory for our side on Iraq because that was such a dominant issue in that election. But in general, Democrats tend to not do as well when the debates are around security and military issues. So economic issues are becoming much more important. I don't know, I can't predict 6 months from now, how important those issues are going to be. But I believe they're going to be, and I think healthcare is going to be a huge driver, energy costs, a huge driver of it. But also looking at the war in Iraq and how much money we've spent there, and the money we're not spending here because of the money we're spending in Iraq. I think you're going to see all of those issues being talked about in a very prominent way. And by the way, one of the things that's interesting about John McCain is that he's pretty weak on economic issues. In fact, he's said things like, "I don't understand economics very well." He's got a tough time talking about domestic issues. He does much better talking about the kind of security and military issues.
So do you think when it's clear who is going to represent the Democrats, and it will be maybe John McCain, then the issue will be even more prominently on the agenda than it is now, because the Democrats have a stronger position in that debate.
It'll be more prominent on the agenda because A, it's more prominent in the minds of Americans who are feeling, what's going on economically. B, because I believe that the Democratic candidates will talk about it forcefully. John McCain will not want the debate to be about economics. You will see a lot of discussion of security and terrorism on his side because it's a better terrain for him. So there'll be it's very interesting to look at 2004 because John Kerry made a deliberate decision, if you look at the Democratic Convention, to run his campaign on being a veteran, and then it became mostly about Iraq. He was actually doing much better earlier in the spring when there was a lively kind of debate about healthcare costs. So I think that the Democratic candidates will learn their lesson from Kerry and say we don't want to fight this over these issues. We want it to be about something else. But it will be a fight because McCain's strongest ground is sort of international security, terrorism, those kinds of issues.
First, I would like to thank you